Senator,
suffered.
time for answering the question has expired. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. Last week, Senator, I asked questions about the funding for the Deposits Guarantee Scheme, which was designed to protect the money in the bank accounts of everyday Australians, capped at $250,000 per account, $20 billion per bank and $80 billion total. Minister, when the scheme was brought in, the eligible deposits being protected were $650 billion. According to Schedule 9 of Budget Paper 1 of the October 2022 Labor budget, your budget, eligible deposits are now $1.2 trillion. Minister, how can $80 billion possibly protect $1.2 trillion in deposits?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. And I think this question goes to some of the concerns that we're seeing in global financial markets at the moment, the impact on some banks overseas and some concerns that Senator Roberts is raising about the potential for impact here in Australia. And the answer is the same as I gave last week. Thank you, Senator Rennick. Would you like leave to speak to this question, or am I allowed to? Oh, you'd like to, would you?
Minister Gallagher,
sorry.
address your comments to
Sorry,
the
President.
Order.
I know responding
Order.
to.
Senator Rennick, resume your seat.
Tell us about your Masters of Applied Finance.
I know responding to interjections are disorderly, but Senator Rennick's got verbal diarrhoea, it seems, this question time. He can't keep it in. And as I said last week, this is something the government is monitoring closely. In fact, the Treasurer is being briefed twice a day on what's happening overseas, and also being provided with feedback from regulators and from the banking system here. And I think it is very good, and I would think that it's something that this Senate would welcome, is the fact that our financial markets, our system, our banking system, well-regulated, well-led, well-capitalised, with good liquidity, we are not seeing the issues that are being seen overseas. Now, I did undertake, and I'm not sure if we've done this, to provide you with a written response to the question that you raised last week, and I'll chase that if that hasn't got to you. But also, if there is anything further I can provide in relation to the answer I've just given.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Roberts, first supplementary.
Thank you. My constituents, as I expressed last week in the last question, are concerned. Minister, the protected amount is not indexed and would need to be increased to $380,000 per account and $115 billion overall, just to cover the same amount as the scheme did in 2008 because of inflation. Minister, will you increase the caps on the bank deposit guarantee to make up for inflation since 2008?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Farrell.
Thank you. Well, and in line with the answer I gave last week, of course the government would respond in relation to concerns that were raised about the operation of our banking system and the impact it was having here. We are not seeing that. I think Australians should be reassured that the Australian banking system is resilient, and all of our banks, as I said, are well capitalised, have strong liquidity coverage. Thank you. The Treasury and regulators are closely monitoring the situation about potential impacts for Australia. And when I say that, very closely monitoring. Now, I can understand that people watching what they've seen with Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse and that would have raised concerns. I can understand that. And the response is that since the GFC, since the Banking Royal Commission, there are measures in place to ensure the strong performance of our banking system, and we don't have any concerns about it.
Minister. Senator Roberts, second supplementary.
Thank you. Reviewing the minister's answers to my 5 questions on the guarantee so far. Firstly, the guarantee has not been adjusted for inflation, and so it offers 34% less protection than when it was legislated. Secondly, the guarantee is not funded. There is no money available to implement it. Thirdly, the scheme only covers 7 cents in the dollar of deposits. Fourth, the minister has refused to commit to activating the scheme if it was needed. Minister, can you explain why constituents should not conclude, as many have, that the bank deposits guarantee is a fraud, is a lie?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Gallagher.
Well, I don't agree with that representation by Senator Roberts at all. and I have answered the question in a general sense by saying that if there were concerns, as we saw in the GFC, then of course the government and I presume the parliament would act. So the point I'm trying to make is that at this point we don't have concerns. We do not share the concerns. In fact, we've been given very strong reassurance by the regulators, by the banks themselves, by the systems that have been put in place by this place and the other place to ensure that we have a strong, well-regulated, well-capitalised banking system to precisely insulate from some of the financial instability that we're seeing elsewhere. So, yes, of course the government would respond if we had to. At this point in time, we are assured that is not the case.
Your time has expired. Senator